Hello, everybody. My name is Ash, and welcome back to Neopian Flashbacks. Today I'm playing Kou-Jong. And you may be saying, wouldn't that be pronounced Kou-Jong? Yes, it would be. But see, the thing is, Kou-Jong is based off of, Mahjong and, the Cougar Neopet, which is just cougar misspelled. So it's Kou-Jong. I have my real-life cougar Jack sitting here with me. He is looking very cute, and he's all excited that someone came to spend time with him today because he's been mostly sleeping by himself, and he is confused as to why I am mostly ignoring him. It's because I'm recording, buddy. Couple minutes. I was gonna play something else today, but I have a very bad caffeine withdrawal headache, and no caffeine to fix it with. So we're playing this, and I'm just gonna talk about whatever the fuck I want. And it's gonna be a nice time to relax. So welcome to the Neopian Flashbacks podcast. Let's take a look at the instructions. The goal is to clear the board by removing all the tiles. You must remove the tiles in pairs. A pair consists of two tiles that are both free and identical. God, this text is hard to read. A tile is free when it has I or one, I guess. One, no other tile laying above it or partially covering it. Two, at least one side, left or right, unblocked, no tile present. Two tiles are identical if they look exactly the same, except for the flower and season tiles. All of the flower tiles can be matched with one another, and all of the season tiles can be paired together. Okay, cool. So, this is not... I can't get out. Really? It won't let me go back. This is very strange. Oh, I'm attached to the... Okay. I was attached to the scroll bar. I couldn't let go of it. I just kept clicking until it let me go. That's so weird. So yeah, this is Mahjong Solitaire, not Mahjong the game where you play against players. We're gonna do easy first. Real cute. So, what do I want to talk about? I have a headache. Secondly, you may have heard in the news, not the national news, not the international news, not even the local news, but the Neopets news, that ghoul catchers and legends and letters are being destroyed. They are being removed from the App Store and Google Play Store, and they're actually going to be made unplayable. So this isn't a Flappy Bird situation where it's being taken down and you can still play it. They are going to be rendered unplayable, so there will be no point in having them. I don't know why they're doing this. I guess they just got tired of all of the... Okay, I appreciate the applause, but it wasn't that impressive. I guess they just got tired of all the complaints and people asking them to fix things, and they just decided, well, since we're not planning on putting any more effort into these games, we'll just remove them and we'll make them unplayable, and then no one can complain to us. That may sound harsh, but that is, in a nutshell, the mindset I think that they had. You don't have to fix something if it doesn't exist. And I just think they have no intent of going anywhere with those apps. So instead of let them just be there and let people just play them, because then if a bug came up or if something happened as phones got updated, they would have to fix it. If someone went and data mined the Legends and Letters app or the Ghoul Catchers app and they figured out a way to make infinite Neo points, that would be a problem. Okay, once again, it wasn't that impressive. Those things would be problems, and they would have to maintain those apps to make sure that's not possible. And I just think they don't want to do that. So, that's, in a nutshell, why I think the apps are being removed. Now, here's why I think it's a good thing, which you may be surprised, because I loved the Ghoul Catchers announcement. And I loved Ghoul Catchers when it first came out, because actually Ghoul Catchers, despite the initial issues with logging in and linking your account, besides that, the app actually functioned very well in the beginning. It was only later, once we sort of came to the end of Viacom and the beginning of Jumpstart, that Ghoul Catchers really became a hot train wreck, because Facebook was no longer allowing... Okay, HP support assistant, really? This is the second time this has happened. Get the fuck... I'm never updating! I'm never doing it. Never. Next HP updates are scheduled for my ass. So once it came to the end of Viacom, that's when the rest of the glitches started happening. Not to say that the game was perfect before, it certainly wasn't, but it was the best that a Neopets app was in my memory. What? Am I missing something? Oh, T. Okay. So the only thing about Ghoul Catchers was the gameplay fucking sucked. I mean, maybe I just got lucky because I did hear a lot of people complain about glitches, but the gameplay fucking sucked. Actually, it sucked to the point that I wrote a 2-page Microsoft Word document, which was then submitted as a review to the Apple App Store because I had an iPhone at the time. And I was actually warned by the Apple official support team that if I wrote a review that inflammatory again, they would take away my ability to write reviews. I have no idea if the Neopets team ever saw it, if, like, someone reported it. Okay, well, that wasn't that hard. Let's try medium. I just know that I was actually officially warned for writing that, and it was never publicly posted. I don't even have the review anymore, unfortunately, because the phone was dropped in water and I didn't save it. Think to save it in another spot, which is a shame because it was a beautifully written review. It was very eloquent. But people do not take kindly to when you say something that they made is only good for using while you're taking a shit, which is what I said in much nicer words. I basically did this 2-page long explanation of why I genuinely did not believe that they had play tested the game and that you could not prove it to me if you tried, because mathematically, one of the levels, which was a level I was stuck on, I was actually stuck on it for about 6 months before I wrote this review. I don't know why I didn't write the review sooner, but the level that I was stuck on was nearly mathematically impossible based on how many points you gained from a typical average combo. And keep in mind, I love puzzle games. I love them. They were my first love. And I spent years playing Candy Crush and then Candy Soda Crush and all of that. So I'm very skilled in these games. And Jack has decided he is no longer interested in me since I am not paying attention to him, which is fair. So, when I say that something is mathematically impossible, I mean I actually did the math to prove it, and then wrote the math that I did. Basically, like, the standard move was anywhere from, like, 300 to 500 points. They gave you, like, it was something like 12 moves or something. Less than 15, I know that for sure. And basically, you would have to score like amazing combos, really amazing combos, to reach the goal score every single turn without a single non-combo turn. Like you couldn't just, it wasn't enough to just score every turn. It had to be like a 3,000 point score every turn. Which just with the way that they had the game, half the time I would play the game and it would reshuffle every other turn, which was meaning that they were not spawning the ghosts, the pieces, good enough that there was actually, there would only be one turn that you could go and then it would reshuffle. So they didn't give you enough options when they spawned the ghosts to begin with. The AI wasn't good enough. And then also, most, emphasis on most, match 3 games have 5 pieces, and I did double check on that. And then, like, they have the extra, crack the ice or get this piece to the bottom. They have those as extras, but they have 5 main pieces. The game had 6 main pieces, and it had smaller boards. See, I really thought this through, as to why, like, it wasn't just like I wasn't good. I spent many, many times playing this level thinking about what I was doing wrong and what I could do better. And I came to the conclusion that it was nearly impossible. I did eventually beat the level after working on it for 2 years. So I kept playing it after I wrote this review. I didn't give up. But yeah, so I basically said, my dad always said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, which is basically my relationship with Ghoul Catchers at this point. A game that I loved, an idea that I loved, characters that I loved, that it was just becoming this very frustrating thing for me. And I was a person who spoke very highly of TNT at that point and had never really had a complaint for them, so this was my first complaint, and they did not want to hear it. Which I did end the thing saying basically that I thought that the app at that point was only good for when I had to take a really big poop and had nothing else to do. So I understand why they maybe were a little bit upset with that, but I was upset with the game. So ever since then, whenever I play Ghoul Catchers, it has been like a love to hate thing. And Legends of Letters has never worked. I downloaded that app very early on. And I was like, you know what? It's new. New apps don't usually work. I'll come back in 3 months, and I bet they'll work out a lot of this stuff. And they never did. I mean, I don't understand, because that was something that was, like, announced at Comic-Con, and that was, like, something they put a lot of time into and they really hyped up. And not only did they kind of drop it and not talk about it anymore afterwards, so they didn't want people to look at it, I guess, but they just really just never fixed it. I mean, I don't know how big the Legends and Letters team was, so, and I can't even estimate how big they were. But, like, I linked my account to Legends and Letters, and that worked fine. A lot of people had issues with that. That was a lot of people's main issues. It's Neopets, you want to get your prizes, I get that. The main issue for me was the game never fucking saved. So I would play for a couple hours, and if I so much as walked away from my phone for a second, and the phone screen went in sleep mode, my game was lost. Everything I had done, all the progress was lost. The only thing that saved was when I beat different worlds, it would keep that, and it also kept my inventory. But the main thing that I wanted was I wanted to beat the quests and the challenges, because, like, for example, the Challenge of Challenges, which they would have, like, monthly or weekly or something. I don't know, because I never really got to participate. That would not save. So what I would have to do is I would have to play enough to save up gems, and you could buy, like, you could pass it with your gems. You could say, I didn't get time to complete this, I'm going to pay for it. So I would complete enough stuff to have enough gems to just basically pay off the whole Challenge of Challenges, even though I had beaten all of them on the days that they were actually required to be beaten. It just wasn't saving it, and it wouldn't save the daily login bonus, and it wouldn't save any of that, and that was a major part of the game. And also, if I walked away and it went into sleep mode, it would lose the level that I was on and stuff, and it just didn't save anything. And I thought, okay, well, maybe they're having issues, I'm not the only person with this issue, and some people are having no problems with this issue. And I was really, really hoping that it was going to be fixed, and they've dropped that app as well. So both apps are going to be gone. Which means that, like, things that were taking a long time, like Facebook integration with Ghoul Catchers again, gone. Not happening. They're just not going to do it. And fixing the Legends of Letters thing so I could have actually had an experience with that game. I mean, it was so upsetting to me that I really barely played the game. just because it was like I couldn't participate in major events that they were, advertising as this super fun thing. And it was like, well, why would you want to play if you can't do something everyone else is doing, or a lot of other people, at least, that are doing? So it was just a wash for me when it came to Legends of Letters. From the very beginning, it was a wash. I was always disappointed with that app. And I really didn't care that they were getting rid of that app. But, it does bother me because Ghoul Catchers had its moments when it was good. And I really do think if they had reworked the levels and they had spent more time on it, it could have been awesome. But that's not what they decided to do. And I do think if you are not going to upkeep something, especially something on the internet, then let it die. Because it just doesn't, you don't need to be spending, if you don't plan on going anywhere with something, you don't need to spend a single one of your staff members' time on that. Like, Godspeed that no one's answering the Ghoul Catchers emails anymore. Like, they should be doing other things that are more important, that they actually care about. And I'm screwed. Can we reset this? But yeah, so they're gone. And honestly, this brings me back to, I was talking to some people maybe a couple weeks ago. Maybe like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I was talking to them on the Neo boards, which I rarely go on, but I was on. And they were talking about the reveal of the mobile beta, which I was pretty satisfied with. And some people were talking about, they felt like maybe since it was very colorful and had large text, it was too childish. I didn't really care. I thought it looked like it was exactly on the money. But, the staff did say that they were hearing what people were saying, and also that we were going to be able to use our site themes, which some of the site themes are more kiddish and some of the site themes are more adult. And really, the bright yellow Neopets theme, I never play with that, with the original Neopets theme, because I think that to me looks kiddish and overly bright and all that. So when they told people that, I thought that was a pretty satisfactory answer. But someone said, I just don't understand why they're making a website instead of making an app. An app would be so much better. And I'm like, in what world would an app be better? Like, there's some people who know so little, in my opinion, about technology that they make these assertions that don't really make sense to me. Because, so, an explanation for if you don't know computers. There is a program on your computer which you open every day called your browser. You probably know that much. What a browser does is it decodes HTML files. So you make a call to the Neopets server and they send over a file to you. And then your browser says, this is what that file is. Take a nice little look at it. And that is the same on Apple computers. That is the same on phones. That is pretty much the same everywhere. Now, you do have differences on older computers can't view certain things. Slower internet connections load things slower. When you try and view something on the TV, if you have a smart TV, you might run into a lot of problems just because the operating system is different. But HTML and CSS are the same across the board. That's very nice. That is what makes web development more accessible to learning than, say, software development. Because software development is when you take a language and you learn it, and you spend a very long time learning it so you can become an expert, and then you program something in it. But there are many different programming languages. There's hundreds, there's thousands. And it's not like how HTML and CSS is the thing that is used. There's Java, there's JavaScript, there's Visual Basic, there's Ruby, there's, I think, Ruby on the Rocks, which I think is different. Someone's going to correct me on that. There's C, there's C++, there's C#. There's so many programming languages, and they are not all the same. In fact, they are not all even used the same. So some of them are very similar, like some of them use the same kind of grammar or the same kind of words, just in a different order. But some of them, the whole concept is completely different, and it's like learning Japanese versus English. Like the whole alphabet's different to begin with. Then you got the grammar and the sentences and the vocab, and it's, you know, a whole different world. And that is how apps can be programmed, using programming languages. And if you really want to program a good, robust app, you need experts not only in software development, but also in app development. People who know how phones work, which phones work differently from device to device, and they also work differently from if your device is older versus newer, completely different experience. You need people who are experts in a lot of things. And people who make apps are really quite, I mean, there's a lot of shitty apps out there, but even that is kind of amazing when you think about it, because apps are pretty damn hard to make. And it's something that I have been interested in as well. I have never programmed an app, but I would like to learn. But software programming is hard enough when you don't have to deal with compatibility across all these different devices and creating a similar experience and then hooking it up to the website. So there is a lot involved with making an app. And I think people have the idea that always having an app makes sense because they think, well, if it's made for the phone, it will run better. But that's not the case, because here's the thing. If you don't have someone competent making this app, it is never going to run better. And then also, you know, you have the same things, you know, creating an app is like kind of creating like a video game, but for a phone. So if you would not trust that person to make a video game, you should not be trusting them to make an app, because it will not turn out well. And that's why I feel like Neopets has always kind of had a bad experience when it comes to mobile apps. Because when they had their best video games, they had other people working on them. They had like publishers and stuff. They had Capcom. Like they had people helping them. And the same thing with why KeyQuest was a problem. They had Java programmers that they were contracting to do this work, and it was programmed all in Java, and they just basically ran the Flash website. And then when it broke, they didn't know how to fix it. That's the thing. And you can't just contract an app developer and then be done with it. You can't just swear it off once it's made. You have to keep up with it. And phones are always updating. Like the operating system of your Android phone probably updates once or twice a year at the very least. So, and then you also have to make sure that it's compatible with the people who never update their phones. So it's a very, very complicated thing. And I think some people have in their mind, because they think it's a program dedicated for the phone, that it will automatically run better. And that is not the case. And I know, using the internet on your phone is not always fun. It's not the same as desktop. But when you have a properly built mobile website, which is very easy and cheap to build, I mean, they're redoing the whole website and fixing a lot of bugs to begin with, so that's a whole nother thing. But it is much cheaper and easier to build a mobile website than it was before. And actually, that's what a lot of people prefer now, is building a mobile website over an app. They say, well, if we're going to build an app, what is the function of the app? So in Twitter's case, the app runs video. The app allows you to do live video. It allows you to have a different interface from the web version. It functions a lot better than the web version. It allows you to also take pictures and edit them and all these things. It has extra functions that the web version does not. Now, when you look at the eBay app, which eBay eBay web version runs perfectly fine, but the eBay app is a fucking train wreck. It does not run perfectly fine. And that's a situation where they probably don't need the app, but they have it because there's this idea that if you want to do well on mobile, you need an app. I know lots of businesses that they just use websites that adapt to mobile. And actually, you can see the mobile site if you squish your screen. If you shrink your screen down, you can see the mobile site on your computer because it adapts automatically. And that's like very good for most of them, because as long as it adapts and then people can place their orders and pay for it, then that's really all they need. They don't need an app. There's no need for it if you can fulfill that with an easier, cheaper, works better option. So I tried to explain that to this person on the boards to bring the story to an end. And they were like, well, I don't like seeing the bar at the top of the screen when I'm in a browser. And I was like, but you see the bar on your computer. I mean, I understand it's a smaller screen and maybe they have a smaller phone than I do. But that's not Neopets' fault. That's not the fault of the medium. That's just they bought a small phone. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but you bought a small phone. What do you expect? I wouldn't do anything on a small phone. I wouldn't so much as use the Neopets app on a small phone because I would be so frustrated with it the whole time. Whether or not there was an app, that just has to do with the fact that you purchased a small ass phone. And they were like, and I just don't see why they couldn't have a website and an app. And I'm like, because that's expensive. That's crazy expensive. The cost of making a website versus the cost of making an app is like a fraction. It's just so expensive and for no reason. Like, if it functions and it functions well, what more in the world could you want? But apparently they just really wanted an app. They just couldn't get their mind off of wanting an app. And even though I had offered solutions and I had explained why it was better and why it made more sense and why it was really to have a functioning, properly modern website made so much more sense than to spend money and years and all this effort on an app that would never function properly, because we have proof that the Neopets team cannot create apps that function properly at this time. Not in 2020, maybe in 2025 if they hire more people. But so far, everything for the past 8 to 10 years has been a disaster. Actually, further than that, when they did the first Neopets mobile, when there were flip phones and phones were first starting to get the internet, apparently that was a disaster too, so I have been told. I did not have a cell phone at that time. But, so they have had many, many failed experiences making apps. And I just feel like maybe it's something that can be revisited, but at this time, what makes the most sense monetarily, and if you want the site to do well, and if you want to have a good mobile experience, which I would think would be the most important thing. I mean, forget the browser bar, forget the app, forget the website. Whatever mobile experience is created, you know, we want it to be a good one, that we can actually do what we came to do on the website each day and have fun with it. So you want it to function. I would think you would want it to function. This person was just like, I just want an app. And I don't get it, because I really tried to explain to them why that wasn't a good mindset to have. Or at least why, even if they had a different opinion, why they may have taken this route over that. And they just didn't want to hear it. So I just was like, all right, you want an app? I don't. And I had said, well, just because you think it's a bad idea doesn't mean that other people agree with you. And, maybe this is what the most people wanted. And they were like, how could you say that? So then I couldn't get through to them. So I was just like, goodbye. I hope you have a good day. Because, And that was something that was very eye-opening to me because I keep asking myself, why does the Neopets team not learn? There's so many things that people have been asking for that they could very easily do. Merch. They've done that. They've been successful. Video games. Contact some publishers. You have been successful. There's so many things that they could do that they have been successful with that for some reason it just doesn't seem like they're doing it. And I realized there is this mindset still with some people. I think many people are getting over it, but there is still this mindset with many people that if you want to do well on mobile, you need an app. And people just can't shake that out of their minds because they see all these apps that are making all this money, and they think they want a piece of that pie. And they think the only way that they can do that is if they do the same thing that those people are doing, which is having an app. So, yeah. And that's why eBay has an app that doesn't fucking function. and why Neopets has made 3 apps that never functioned, and etc. and so forth. They just have this mindset. That's just, there's no other option. You know, people get very, what's the word I'm looking for? People get very obstinate. When they want something, they want it the way that they want it, and they don't want to accept any other ideas. So I'm glad that Neopets is trying something different. Because here's the thing, we can still revisit the idea of an app. That, no one's saying that couldn't happen. But for now, that's not what they're doing. For now, they're working on an adaptive website using Bootstrap and all of that, and HTML and CSS, and bringing it in line with what the standards are for programming on the web with the rest of the world. And I think that's a good idea. If we want to revisit an app after that, after we have a functioning website that uses HTML5, that uses Bootstrap, that is in 2020 and not in 2010, then we can do that. But I think this is a good first step. And personally, if they're not going to put in the effort to upkeep these other apps, then they should just stop trying. They should just, don't waste money and effort, and don't get people attached to these things that you're not actually going to upkeep and care for. And I was thinking about all these conversations again as I was playing the alpha of the new Neopets app, Neopets Island Builders. See, I don't learn either. I do the same thing too. I downloaded that bitch knowing it probably wasn't gonna work. Because, I gotta give it a chance. And see, they announced that also at Comic-Con, I think. And, they've been working on it for at least a year, maybe more. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they've been working on it for a while. And they released it in a closed beta on the iPhone, which I didn't hear many complaints about, but then again, I really didn't look for them. So maybe it was a clusterfuck, I don't know. But then they released an early access open beta on Android, and I was very excited because I missed the closed beta. I missed the opportunity to sign up for it, so I signed up for the open beta. And the fucking, I don't know what I expected. But I emailed them to support, and I'm like, yo, the menus, which weren't even finished. I'm like, the menus have misspellings in them. Blatant misspellings. Many misspellings. It wasn't just like one, it was several. And they fixed 1 or 2 of the ones that I told them about, but actually, since the most recent update, there's still a misspelling that I clearly told them about. They just pushed an update and they didn't fix it. And I'm like, if you needed to put the app in the oven for a couple more days to fix the misspellings, to Fill the menu. Don't leave empty boxes. Don't leave something that says put text here. I mean, this isn't like a 8th grade science project. This is an app you're putting out there that you want people to enjoy and pay money to you for a 20-year-old intellectual property. It should be a little bit more, you know, put together. I don't consider myself to be a hard ass. Not everything has to be perfect right away, but there's a certain amount of polish I expect from a 20-year-old intellectual property. Putting out their first app in quite some time since Legends of Letters, which did not do well. I expect a certain amount of things from it, and I just didn't see it. And it was just like, and like, granted, since the first time I downloaded it, they did some bug fixes and things seemed a little bit better. And I did actually get past some screens. And I was excited about that. And, I was like, okay, it was only like a week or two since I sent them that email and they already made some changes. And maybe I'll remind them that this other word is misspelled too, and they'll fix that. And I will continue to give this a chance. But I was becoming very frustrated very quickly with this app. And I was just like, I swear to God, if this is another Ghoul Catchers, I swear to God, if this is another Legends of Letters, I swear to God, if they dupe me again into loving something and that, sorry, no legal remove. Where's the shuffle button? It's just resetting things. Did it freeze? I think it froze. Oh, nope. Okay. I don't think I'm not gonna continue to play. It's been 37 minutes that I've been talking about Neopets apps. Let me wrap this up. I was just feeling very disgruntled as I was playing the app. Because even though it's an early access, like the few things that I had saw the first time I went and played it and then promptly wrote that email, I was just like, why would you put this out here? Keep it in the oven for one more week and write the text for the menus. I mean, come on. Like, that's not even a gameplay issue or a bug issue. That's just that's just like put 5 minutes into it and put the text there and be done with it and then put it out to the public. I was just disgruntled and I was playing this conversation in my mind again and I was thinking about Ghoul Catchers and I was thinking about Legends of Letters and I was like, I swear to God, if Neopets Island Builders comes out and then in a year they take it down from the App Store, I will say I told you so to that person on the Neo boards. I will find their username, look them up, and send them a Neo mail and be like, Neopets Island Builders crashed. I told you so. And if not, then I will be very happy to be wrong. Very happy. Like, I will be so happy to have a functioning Neopets app. But I just don't know if it's possible in 2020. And I'm going to go take a nap because that was... I hope you enjoyed watching me play Kou-Jong and talk about just all the stuff in my mind as we're moving forward into this new era of Neo, because I am not a jaded Neo player. I'm definitely not. There's a lot of people who complain about everything that TNT does, and they just, like, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. No matter what they do, even if they asked for it, they'll be like, how dare you! But when it comes to the apps, I'm almost at a point where I'm like, just stop! Don't make any more! No! I can't take it! Like, I'm almost at that point. But I will give them one more chance. One more. One more chance. And we'll see if it works out. I'm gonna go take my nap. Hopefully my headache will go away. And I'll see you next week, everyone. Bye-bye! Bye-bye!